Hey, 11:17 a.m. Today I want to look at a little World's Fair action. If you go to the Altist website, I think it has a new name now, it does, but that will still take you there. Looks like it's now oldworld.cloud. I don't like .cloud, really, but it's just an address after all. It's like, you don't want to have a prejudice against an address, but I guess I'm just old-fashioned, even though this whole .com thing is pretty new. But anyway, if you go to this part and click on Old World Catalog, it takes you to this page. We go down here and we see 1893 Chicago World's Fair. We click on that and we have 4 books, and we're going to look at these two. But before doing that, I want to review a little bit. So I thank you for being here. I love you all. God bless and welcome. So here I've gone to my channel at the very beginning. The first video is about 6 years old, and in this video we're discussing that roads are much older than we're led to believe. This is a little nugget that leads us on a quest. Anyone could jump on Google Earth and find anomalies. And when you start out a channel, you don't really know what you're doing. Here I posted a Qigong video, very important. If you're not doing any kind of body, mind, and spirit work, I suggest Qigong or yoga or anything, but Qigong is very gentle. Then we discuss the fires, very normal fires, and maybe they were always going on. This same footprint, cooking bathtubs, turning them into powder, but this is when it became very clear to me. Then I made a couple videos on birds. This was my first successful raising of a bird and eventually set it free. It rejoined its family. Its family was here all along. This little king bird made a lot of noise for about 4 weeks. All we heard was peeping, but it was worth it. And then I was inspired to share this video of an ancient city of skyscrapers, and I questioned whether this realm had inhabitants that were just as advanced as we are today, if not more. Then I talked about the Egyptian ruins found in the Grand Canyon, a few newspaper articles that surfaced in the early 1900s talking about Egyptian ruins found in the Grand Canyon. And then of course we have the Smithsonian that gets involved, and we hear nothing about this story again except through channels like this. And very quickly I put all the pieces together in this video, kind of summing up what we see. And what we see is a civilization moving backward, and how we see evidence for this. Then in this video, we discuss melted temples of India. We discuss whether these old structures were carved or cast, and we also discuss meltage for the first time on my channel. And we see great evidence for structures melting in India. So much is preserved in India. Then I discuss the giant tree theory. And in this video, ancient civilizations of North America, we start looking at the grid, as we can see here, the footprint of the realm. We look at sites throughout North America that show signs of advanced civilizations, now wastelands. And this was actually the video that I got my first comment. Up till this point, my videos were getting about 100 views total, and I was very excited to get 100 views. It actually inspired me to quit my job at the hospital and open up a coffee shop. It will have been my 4th coffee shop in my life, but the excitement of getting 100 viewers reminded me that that's all I needed in a coffee shop, just 100 people to walk in the door every day. And it got my mind thinking in a business sense again. I would have loved to just make videos, but I wasn't there yet. I wasn't even confident about my video making abilities. And then this video, The End of Great Tartaria was actually my first video that got noticed and seemed to grow a small following because of it. And are these guys Tartarians? I don't know, but this is what I imagine them looking like. That is up for debate. And here we looked at ancient civilizations of Japan. We discover a people called the Ainu, and the Ainu are a Caucasian-seeming people in Japan. And in this narrative, they are the natives. So the natives in Japan are white Caucasians. They are the savages compared to the modern, as history would proclaim. But really also I think these people were very advanced, carrying traditions from a past greatness, now making do with what they have. In this video we discussed giants and kind of a paranormal shape-shifting phenomenon, looking at the work of Gladys Cordova out of Peru. And in this video, which really didn't garner much attention, I discuss how the military plays a part in the historical reset, and I'll just leave it at that. And here, how they delete continents. I love this video. We show how the North Pole slowly and progressively gets erased off maps as time progresses. Little islands disappear, like the one of Friesland, located to the southwest of Iceland. And then we also see 3 skyscrapers depicted, not just castles. We do see castles in this time period, but on this map of Iceland we see 3 skyscrapers, 2 of the same size and 1 much larger. These 3 videos I think are kind of blah, and then I think it starts getting juicy again. This one I really enjoy, ancient sound weapons, and we begin discussing frequency and what these buildings could really be. They were not religious places of worship. I might not have called it this today, but I'm still not sure. We've seen in very recent times how cathedrals, or buildings that look like cathedrals, have been utilities or producers of gas, such as the Philly Gas Works building, built like a cathedral, and yet still operational today. And here we look at some great drone footage of one of the supposed wildfires in California, and begin to put 2 and 2 together. We don't know exactly what is causing these everything but natural fires today, but we can see a pattern in the old world with the damage that takes place in the new world. Fires that cook everything but seem to leave wooden tree stumps and other wooden material. Recently I saw a video of the fires in Hawaii, and someone was doing an experiment with lasers, and what they determined is the laser set at a certain frequency would not burn the color blue. And there's a lot of material in the middle of a hellstorm in Hawaii that was blue and didn't burn. Needless to say, my next house will have a blue roof. In this video we talk about the Book of Enoch, and I read several passages. And the Book of Enoch is really fascinating, a book that was taken out, that was not canonized and inserted into the Bible, but from this period. And it's very heavy. It gives a good breakdown of what our realm actually may be, how it may function, portals in the sky that bring snow, wind, plagues, locusts, and essentially a mechanical system, predictable. The Book of Enoch, a real fascinating text. Here in the American Dream, a good video, but I was still very amateur in my video making time, but nonetheless really breaking down America and questioning how old it may really be. In this video we discuss China and how we have pyramids, we have Greco-Roman structures all throughout, and we have evidence of a non-Chinese people existing in this region, seeming as if the modern inhabitants have just inherited not only the region but also their history, just absorbed it into their new civilization. In this video we check out Martin's research, and then I got sick of everything and had to hit the road. This is kind of my first boots on the ground video. I went out to Kingman and checked out this road in person, and it was really awesome. I discovered a lot. I discovered these same tracks at a gas station, or just right next to it, that nobody has ever seen, and I never even inserted that footage into this video. But there's a lot going on out here. This video is good, I think. Again, made very crudely, still very amateur in my video making. But we discuss the Civil War, begin to scratch the surface. Here we see the ruins of a column and a city in the Civil War. And it's clear to me that this is not the destruction that would be created with cannons and cannonballs. And it starts to become clear at this point that all cities throughout the realm are found in this condition, and backstories must be given to make sense of it. False backstories. This is a great video, actually. A lot of people have told me that this information is harder and harder to find, and it shouldn't be, because we discuss the work of Galen Winsor. Galen Winsor invented nuclear power. He used to handle the stuff with his bare hands. He used to swim in the reactors and drink the water in the reactors. He lived a long life, but was ultimately silenced. They didn't want the information that Galen, the inventor of this technology, they didn't want that information to get out, that it was actually rather benign. They preferred to scare us, to sell it to us, and also keep us in fear of it. And we also discuss levitation, really fascinating at the end of this video. An inventor who discovered that the patterns on beetles' wings naturally levitate, even if the beetle was dead. And he replicated this technology, replicated this beetle pattern, and was said to be able to fly around on a little board, kind of like a magic carpet, but a magic board. I would love to reverse engineer that type of work. This video is fun. I'm just all over the place. Maybe a classic, but maybe very random. Unlike this one that's a little more focused. We look at maps. I show how Chicago is depicted as a castle on this river before the Great Lakes. And we really break down these maps, which is one of my favorite things to do to this day. And this ties in with what we're going to look at today. Chicago. Old Chicago. So let's have a little look at ye olde Chicago. I don't know what I would say about this World's Fair. I mean, I've said so much about them. It's said that when people don't know, they talk a lot. And when you know, you say nothing. I guess you're just at peace. Maybe there's nothing left to say. I think in our book, we broke it down so well, showing the impossibility. Honestly, it's the most boring part of the book. So many breakdowns, mathematical equations of exactly what it would take. Build power to staff employees. And even though they tell us they took a loss, a pretty large one, the figures show 30 times the loss they claim they succumbed to. 30 times. So A, this proves they're lying. That's a certainty. And B, that they're lying over and over and over again. Because one of these expos, in the great loss any investors would have experienced, would have put a halt to any future expos. But yet I do think something was going on, at least for a short time. We've discussed the indoctrination of the new populace, educating them on the new history. The little displays, really rolling out the new world, ironically in the shadow of the old one. Because if you asked anybody what this may have been without hearing the current narrative, which is what happened in real time with our research, most people had never heard of the World's Fairs. And you might see the photo before you hear the narrative, in this case, 100 plus years later. What is this grand city with waterways and magnificent structures? And then you might watch the rest of the video or read the rest of the story that we're given. And how could you swallow it? How stupid would you have to be to think that someone would build something like this and tear it down, barely using it for a year and tearing it down? And I think that's the case with everything. We are treated like children when fed a history. And again, why talk when you know? I guess just to share. I guess it's worth sharing, almost like philanthropy, in this case with knowledge. Knowledge of reality and deceit. We've discussed the Dodd Report in Congress revealing the minutes of a certain foundation in the early 1900s plotting to rewrite the textbooks training a whole league of future academia, and I think very simply writing themselves into the new history, their legacy, and their right of entitlement to all the good lands and resources and buildings throughout the realm. So now let's look at some pictures. Here again, we're at the oldworld.cloud. I think if you still go to althist.com, it'll automatically bring you here. We have some books on this website, reprints, and if you go here to the main page, somewhere here you see catalog and reprints. But anyway, we have these books. This one is a reprint of the 1876 Centennial Expo in excellent resolution. There's also one here for the Columbia Expo, and we can see a little sample of it here. Really awesome, a really great showcase of the hundreds of buildings at the World's Fair in 1893, all temporary, mind you, we are told. So that's cool. I wanted to share that with you, but now let's look at a free book that we have posted up here. We'll go to the Old World catalog, as we can see here. We'll click on it. It takes us to this main page. We click on 1893 Chicago World's Fair, and we have this book. Click on it. Excellent book that anyone can access for free. And here we go. Here's one of the buildings. Really over-the-top building for nothing, really. You really can't do anything with this building. See some people down here trying to get some shade. Of course, using their umbrellas until they get there. People seeming unaccustomed to sunlight. But anyway, yeah, just a massive arch of triumph with wings, statues everywhere. And I really like this book because it shows different angles that we don't often get to see when doing a search on the internet, and that's one of the reasons we wanted to make this website. I hope it will grow over the years. And here we can see how exciting this fair really was. And the Statue of the Republic. I wonder if this statue has a ball and chain like the Statue of Liberty. Yeah, really interesting. Right in our face. A ball and chain on the symbol of liberty. And that is the absolute truth, actually. The illusion of freedom and liberty is what we have. The illusion of truth and justice. So here's a bunch of people hanging around on opening day, May 1st, 1893. This might be an important figure here. A bunch of mixed matched chairs, and really packing them in, just uncomfortably being packed in here. Everyone seems to be wearing a hat. Of course, they can't use their umbrellas. God forbid a ray of light should touch their skin. And here we can see one of the buildings. Does not look temporary at all. Some people hanging out of the windows here. One with his child here, propped on the side. Really unruly. I've said it before in past videos about the World's Fair. There's one picture in St. Louis, I believe, where people are riding on the roof of the trolley. Adult, so I don't know. That's when I proposed that these were the adult orphans, still acting really immature, and in this case very obedient and attentive. Pay attention, as I said before, as if attention must be paid. It is the greatest currency, and these people are just emptying their pockets. Okay, I'm sorry. What a ranty bastard I'm being. Looking east from the administration building. So really, the buildings outweighing the attendance is what we see here. Just too much building for too little people. Okay, they packed them in for that last photo, but here's what we really get walking along the wagon impressions. Way too much building, that's all. Way too much lake. Artificial, of course. Concrete plunging into the water. Anything but temporary. And here another little angle. And this is nothing. This is just one little part. This beautiful city center. A more harmonious city center than anything we have today. Now we could use something like this. Not then. And again, this is nothing. We have about 200 buildings at this fair. Too many. I see a tower here in the background. Here we can see a towering view. How many domes? How many spires? Bridges? This appears to be the inside of one of the buildings. just to show that these have been finished with intricate detail. Here again, the inside of a building. These will be different booths. Here they tell us within the pavilion, the manufacturer's art building. So this is the inside. Some people up here on the balcony, really seeming awkward. What an awkward affair. Nobody has a drink in their hand, just awkward and stiff and stupid. This is in the Minnesota building. I mean, all of these just seem like giant airship hangars. This is probably an airship, airport, city center hub. And then they always pack these old world features in here. Or maybe if it was an old world airport, these were little restaurants or something. I don't know. But not World's Fair-like. And really, World's Fair is not normal anyway. The difficulty of travel in this time period. There's nothing stupider than having a World's Fair. Maybe have a local fair. People might actually turn out. Even a state fair is a little much. To imagine traveling across a state with horse and wagon, with few restrooms in between, if any. No, you're not going to leave the comfort of your home to brave the Wild West in order to attend a fair, which is why I believe that a lot of these pictures are actually simply staged. These don't look like fairgoers. To me, these are like trophies. Here they are posing in front of their prize, similar to how hunters will pose with their prey, which really I don't like. I prefer the Native American way to give respect, certainly not to pose with the dead, and certainly not if you're not in need of the food. But anyway, I think that's what we're seeing here. The destruction of the buildings from the old world would create an entire industry. And we're seeing the showcasing and the beginning of this industry right here. In one aspect, these seem to be educational centers. As I've shown in past videos, the World's Fair booklet that I possess. But in another sense, I think we're also seeing a grand market for the wealthy. Similar to modern expos. There's no expo going on today without financial incentives behind it. Here we can see the transportation building. And why does the transportation building seem to have nothing to do with transportation? Really beautiful. A couple guys here chatting. Doors are open. Another guy sitting over here. This is a picture I really enjoyed in the past. It's titled Looking South from Wooded Island. And what I remarked in this photo in the past is how there's a tree, pretty aged tree, just growing right on the path. And we can see where the people have been walking in between the two trees. You can see a little path cut, a footpath. And I think that this emphasizes the non-temporary element to this fair. Essentially that this fair was not just freshly built. So many just random buildings like this one. Coral Hall, there you go. That was really important. An extra couple million here in building. And these obscure buildings are some of my favorites, like the Missouri building here. There we go. What does this have to do with Missouri? Why are there so many flagpoles? And why would somebody believe this is temporary? Here we go. Everyone posing. This is a big deal. Old tree here, maybe 25 years old. And this is one that I'd looked at in the past. Here it looks like they've just smeared concrete facade all over this ruin, and they're calling it an Indian village. And it's clear that it's a building. And so here they're selling us on the Native American ruins idea, even in this time period. Here's another one that I saw today for the first time. Ruins of Uxmal. So here we're told they built these ruins. This is really interesting. Really, really interesting. There's like trees growing up here that have embedded themselves into the ruin. And this really having a South American feel. All this debris and rubble and young palm tree shoots growing from the base. So what do you think? Did they really build this? Or was this just way too out of place for this fair? And again, I think that this is what we were seeing in the last picture, and they just facaded over it and called it Native American ruins, as we can see here. So I think a lot can be revealed in these books. Again, pictures that are not to be found online. So I think I'm going to leave it here for today. Feel free to check out this book on the website. I thank you for joining me. Do have a blessed day. I love you all, and I'll see you next week.